All right, so you guys have been blowing up our inboxes about Fousey.
Yeah, seems like everyone's talking about it,
I mean, can you blame them? It's, well, it's been a lot, to say the least.
to say the least. Yeah.
We're talking missed flights, family getting involved, even possible rehab. We've got articles from Dick Serto, screenshots of his Twitter. It's wild.
Definitely a lot to unpack.
So buckle up, everybody. Today we're taking a deep dive into what's going on with Fousey.
And look, what's really hitting home for a lot of people is that this isn't Fousey's first rodeo when it comes to this kind of stuff.
Right, we've seen him go through it publicly before. I mean, this is someone who's built his career on sharing his life online. But this does seem like different somehow.
It does. And it's important to remember that even before this all went down, even before the missed flights and everything, he was posting some pretty concerning stuff online.
Oh yeah, those X posts. Those were tough to read.
Talking about feeling trapped, battling suicidal thoughts. That's heavy stuff.
Yeah, no kidding. And it's so easy to see those kinds of posts and just kind of scroll on by, you know?
Right. But we can't forget, there's a real person behind those words. Expressing those thoughts, even if it's not a cry for help, it shows you there's some serious struggle happening internally.
And that was before the Miami incident too, right?
Exactly. Back in August, Fousey was arrested in Miami after he called the police on himself.
He what?
Yeah, claimed he was in danger, but it turned out to be a mental health crisis.
Wow. Okay, so that's definitely important context for what's happening now.
For sure.
Because this really does feel like, I don't know, like an escalation, right?
Yeah, I'd say so.
So let's back up a bit just to make sure everyone's caught up on the timeline of everything that's happened in the past week or so.
Okay.
It seems like it all started with him missing that flight to Atlanta.
Right, October 3rd. His management team actually posted about it on X, which is saying something because usually those things are kept pretty private.
Mm-hmm.
But they were clearly worried. They said they couldn't get in touch with him, missed this flight to Atlanta. Family's freaking out.
And that's when people who've been following him, who know his history, that's when everyone started to really worry.
Yeah, and it wasn't just fans speculating either. Later that same day, Fousey texted his management. They actually shared a screenshot of it. He said he was safe, but furious they'd made that post. He was talking about being micromanaged, mentioned rehab.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you could feel the tension through the screen.
Yeah, and I mean, you can kind of see where he's coming from, that feeling of being controlled, of everyone being in your business. It's got to be even more intense when you've built your entire life around being online.
100%. And that whole thing, wanting support but then feeling totally suffocated by it, that's huge in situations like this, where mental health is a factor. That need to be in control to make your own choices. It's powerful.
And then came the Kick live stream, which just threw everyone for another loop.
Right, like out of nowhere, he's live on Kick now, which, side note, is a whole other platform if anyone's not familiar. And he's confirming that, yeah, people want him to get help. He even said something about being got around 80 days.
80 days, that's
Yeah.
That's a long time.
It is. And it makes you think, right, that's not just a quick check-in. That suggests a level of care that's pretty serious.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. And then to make it all even more intense, he posts that same live stream to YouTube, his main channel, the one everyone knows him from, but he titles it Fousey's Final Goodbye. I mean, come on, that sends chills down your spine just hearing it. Final goodbye. How are fans supposed to process that? And look, we've talked about what's happened, the timeline and everything, but I feel like to really get this, we got to spend some time with Fousey's actual words. From these posts, these videos.
Yeah, going straight to the source, right. It's the only way to really understand what's going on in his head. Like, remember those X posts you mentioned? Trapped in his own mind, battling suicidal thoughts. Those are heavy, heavy words.
They are. And it's so easy, especially online, to just kind of skim past that stuff. Or think, oh, they're just being dramatic for attention.
Exactly. But for anyone listening who's ever thought that, please, listen to me. Even saying those words out loud, typing them out, that means something real is going on inside. Whether it's a cry for help or just pure despair, it doesn't matter at that point. It's real.
Way beyond just a bad day.
Absolutely. And then there's that text to his management. Maybe I want to be left alone. Sick of everyone micromanaging? It goes back to what we were saying, that feeling of being pulled in every direction.
Totally. And this is where it gets tricky because it's like, okay, on one hand, you've got Fousey. He's clearly saying, back off, I need space, I need to make my own choices. But on the other, you've got his management, and from what we know, they care about him, they're trying to help. But where's the line? When does concern become control?
$1 million question, right? And the truth is, there's no easy answer. Each situation is different. There's so much we don't see. But if we're talking big picture here, I think the most important thing is compassion.
Even when it's hard.
Especially when it's hard. Because even if someone's acting out, even if their behavior doesn't make sense, usually there's something much deeper going on. We can't forget that.
It's true, it's like you start following someone online, watching their videos, and it's easy to feel like you know them, even though it's totally one-sided.
Oh, tell me about it. That whole parasocial relationship thing, it's a trip. Like you feel this connection with someone you've never even met. And sometimes that's great. It can be really positive, but it also makes those boundaries blurry. Suddenly, everyone feels entitled to an opinion on your life, especially when things get tough.
For sure. And then, on top of everything else, you've got this stigma around mental health. Like, admitting you need help is still a big deal for a lot of people.
Oh, huge. People are terrified of being judged, seen as weak or whatever. And even if you do want to get help, it can be a nightmare. Finding a therapist you click with, affording it, dealing with insurance, it's a whole thing.
Right. And it sounds like with Fousey, there might have been some hesitation on his end about getting help, which is what makes his management stepping in even more complicated. It's like you want to respect his right to make his own choices about his health, but when you see someone struggling like that, putting those cries for help out there, whether they mean to or not, it's tough. When does looking out for someone become overstepping?
Yeah, you're walking a tightrope there. And honestly, there's no rule book for this stuff. Every situation is so unique. But I think the guiding principle has to be compassion. Always. Especially when it's hard.
Even when someone's behavior doesn't make sense, you're saying.
Exactly. Because usually that means something much bigger is going on underneath. And we can't just ignore that.
It's about remembering there's a person there, right?
100%.
And on that note, if you're listening to this right now and you're going through it, you're not alone, okay?
Yep.
There are resources out there. You can call or text 988 in the U.S. That's the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. They're available 24/7. And sometimes just talking to someone can make a world of difference.
Couldn't agree more. Reaching out is one of the bravest things you can do.
So this whole situation with Fousey, it really makes you think, about how we interact with people online. Like, what are our responsibilities to the creators we follow? Where's the line between concern and, I don't know, intrusion, almost?
It's a tough one, no doubt. But these are conversations that need to be had.
They really do. And if nothing else, if this deep dive has made you stop and think about that, even if it's made you a little uncomfortable, well, in a way, that's a good thing, right?
100%.
Yeah.
It means you're engaging with the complexity of it all.
Yeah.
And that's the goal, really. More than just talking about this stuff, it's about understanding.
Perfectly said. Well, folks, that's our deep dive for today. Stay informed, stay engaged, and as always, take care of yourselves and each other.